Men just gotta put a price on their services as well to offset women putting a price on their services.
And that's basically, like I said, that's going into the current climate that we're starting to see. That used to not be that way. You know what I mean? It didn't used to be that way, but now you're starting to see that everything is way more transactional. However, a lot of men have been tending to complain because they're like, hey, we feel like we're giving so much and not getting anything in return because it's socially inappropriate to demand what we typically want in return. So now I'm saying, like, look, well, if they're going to put a price on it, then you put a price on it. You put a price on what it costs for you to be a man for them.
I'm
That's
gonna
called
be honest.
pimping.
I think women lie to themselves about accepting that they do know the value of a man. And I'm very careful with my word choice here because when you look at how a lot of times women talk about their male companionships, their platonic friends versus what they're willing to give into an intimate partnership, it's completely different. A lot of these male friends have the responsibility that a grown man that she would be having sex with has, whether it's borrowing money, whether it's, protecting her, whether it's servicing time or, going to events with her, just kind of like being arm candy. A lot of these male friends are getting the treatment that a husband would get, and it's very much so a conditional trade off. It's every time, she's lonely, need the vent, or all of these other things. We're seeing it. They're going to concerts together. They're doing a lot of things that they do with their male friends, making time, prioritizing them. That even to the point where we had the conversation a couple weeks back, where the woman was like, even if they have a male friend and it came between choosing their male friend or their husband, they're not cutting off their male friend. Like, she with the girl who was on TikTok and she was like, she loved her male friend real bad. And the guy basically told her, like, I'm not gonna date you when you're talking about your male friend like this. You probably need to go be with him. So I do think that women know. I think women are intentionally trying to trick themselves and negate them from doing it and accepting it because they're getting it done through other men that they don't have to commit to. It's very
Mm-hmm.
intentional. These men you don't have to have sex with. These men you trick yourself into thinking he don't want you. And it's easy, right? You
Yep.
can keep that control. You can keep that type of that boundary up, right? Because in your head, you're sitting there telling yourself, he'll never have sex with me. In your head, you have an emotional attachment to him, but you also have guarded you being on an intimate level with him as well as your responsibility. So the first time something comes up to where she has to give her own trade off, if she does it, she don't feel guilt about it. I can go cook for him. He's just my male friend. It's no big deal. But if he leaves her house and goes and lays up with another woman, she feels nothing about it, which is why women were fighting for their right to invade men's spaces at 2 o'clock in the morning. He's my male friend. I should have the right to come over and just talk and just vent at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I think they actually do know. I think that they're just trying to wager it a little bit different. And men are now falling for the banana in the tailpipe.
Yeah, a lot of men fall for that. These are just orbiters who they have their own intentions as well. They would love to be in that position, but they realize that their only chances at ever getting a sniff of anything is being an orbiter, and they will allow these women to steal their boyfriend energy, and they are just helpless because they have a scarcity mindset. Their options are limited, so they are scavengers because they're now going to just take what they can get, and just simply being around a woman's company will suffice because it's better than what they had access to, which was nothing. So they'll take that and then just continue to orbit the woman, hopefully be in her air, and then as soon as the dudes slip up, they can strike and get theirs and hopefully take the position. But what they don't usually understand is that the woman generally doesn't see them in that way. Once you are friend zoned, it's extremely difficult to get out of it. And men, you need to really stop doing that because the woman doesn't look at you in the same way that somebody she's attracted to. Women generally don't grow attraction to you if they're not physically attracted to you or attracted to your swag or just to your person. They're usually not going to grow into that. It happens, but extremely rarely. You're not her type. Chill out.
So also somebody mentioned that they said with this type of world create a situation where women would further no longer need men. And first of all, there would never be a time where you never need men because we actually need each other to procreate. However, let's just say for the sake of argument that she no longer needs men in her day-to-day tasks. Well, then at that point, we're living in a world where all is fair in love and war. Women charge for pussy, men charge for the things that we do, and there's nothing lost when there's an equal exchange. You know what I mean? So, and I think I hate for that world to exist, but I think that it's the type of world that we're starting to see ourselves walk into because everybody is being more transactional. Everybody's saying, "Well, what can I get for this?" Well, you know what I mean? And hate to say it, women started this. They said, "Well, what you need to get more out of a man if you having sex with him." Well, that comes with the opposite end where men are starting to feel like, "Hey, you need to get more out of a woman than just a thank you and a smile when you're doing all this stuff for her." You know what I mean? And like I said, it's become socially inappropriate to want sex for that action. So now we're gonna live in a world where you have to charge them for it. And that may mean that we live in a world where women gonna charge us for it. And I always say all is fair in love and war at that point.
Sweeney, that's a plan waiting to fail. I don't think that we can ever truly get to the point where men are unnecessary because there are certain jobs that are going to be eliminated, certainly. But at some point, all right, just look at the fields that women generally get into, right? And there are definitely more and more women who are doing other things, but not really, right? When you're talking about STEM, of course, that makes the most money. Most women are not interested in STEM, and that's going to be one of the very few industries that survive robotics, that survive artificial intelligence, that are able to do it, right? Those are mostly men who are operating in those particular fields. So it's only going to get worse in a minute because many of these social jobs that we have right now will be replaced. And that's usually what women do. So unfortunately, women are going to run out of slack far before men do because just of the fields that we are willing to do right now. And that's subject to change, but not likely because it's just not in their personality. So we're going to be valuable, right? And no matter how you spend it.
I wasn't speaking towards like obviously that's why I said obviously when you look at the macro and the grand scheme of things, men are needed. Not only and I know I only mentioned procreation, but obviously because there's things that we can do in this world that women physically cannot. I was just talking about in a woman's day-to-day tasks, like her getting up, go to work, come home, pay bills type deal. That's all I'm referring to because when women talk about how they don't need men, that's what they're referring to. Obviously, they know that they need men because they ain't the ones out there working on highways and roads and stuff like
Right.
that.
That's what I was
But
getting ready to say.
when
Like,
women tend to talk about it, they're referring to their own day-to-day task of, I don't need a man to be in the house with me. I can go out there and hire somebody to do X, Y, Z or something like that. They don't need a man romantically type deal.